But I want to appeal that if we have to succeed, we need to keep our political differences aside and understand that the struggle as of today is for posterity, for the development of our region.
And this was a statement of the chairman of the Forum of Governors of South States, that's the governor of Bayelsa, Doye Diri. He indeed read the communique.
We support Mr. President's tax reform bill, and the forum further urged Mr. President to extend the proposed VAT sharing percentages to other areas of derivation, such as oil and gas. The forum further talked about to establish a robust structural regional security network.
Governor Diri also called on the federal government to urge relevant stakeholders and agencies to extend remediation of the polluted environment ongoing in Ogoni land to other impacted communities and states in the region.
We thank Mr. President for the ongoing work on the East-West Road. The forum emphasized the need to expedite action towards the completion of that road. The forum further requests the federal government to urge relevant stakeholders and agencies to extend the remediation of polluted environments ongoing in Ogoni land to other impacted communities and states in the region.
All right. So when you're having conversations around the development of the Niger Delta, you want to think about all the interventions, the channels, and the platforms that should bring about this development. Of course, you have state governments, the governors, you have local government chairmen. You have a commission, the NDDC, that has been running for over 2 decades. There are funds that have been specially set aside for the region, thanks to the fact that it is an oil-bearing region. So when you still hear cries as to an underdevelopment of that region, you're asking questions about the existing structure, what should be, what currently is, and what can come out of a collaboration, a unified South-South development strategy for the region. Well, my guest hopefully will have all the answers to the question. He is Pius Ughakpoteni. Okay, I'll take that again. Pius Ughakpoteni. He is a former director of corporate affairs with the NDDC. Mr. Pius has over 3 decades of experience in journalism, management, and public relations. And since retiring from the NDDC, he served as a columnist, executive director of research and sustainability, thought leadership at the plenary. He's also an author. And to summarize, he is a development expert. Good day, Mr. Pius.
Good day, Sam.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for this privilege of rubbing minds with you to discuss issues of the Niger Delta, highly beleaguered as it is, and I hope this will be an opportunity for us to come up with some workable suggestions that will further motivate our leaders, as it were, to wake up to the call.
Hopefully. But let's address some more pressing issue. I assure you, what I'm about to ask you is more important than the development issue. How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, Sam, you got it about 75%.
Okay.
My last name is Ughakpoteni.
Ughakpoteni. Okay.
It's a name from Ughelli Kingdom, Delta State.
Okay.
Ughakpoteni. Let's call you 75%.
Thank you. You're far too kind.
Great.
All right. So, we know that the Brace Commission is not new. I remember when the former Governor Wike was the governor of Rivers State, there were conversations around Brace, meetings, engagements, and all of that. But the question is, if it functions optimally, what should a unified development strategy look like? When these governors come together, how should they present? What should that commission look like?
A unified approach to development of the Niger Delta, or well, in this context, the South-South. We need nothing other than collaboration, and more collaboration, in line with the ethos of SDG 17, which recommends partnerships for the goals. And the goals of the other goals which SDG 17 refers to are goals that have a lot to do with the challenges of the Niger Delta.
Okay.
Poverty, degradation, low quality of life, water, and all of that. The SDG 17 suggests that without partnerships, the goals can hardly be achieved. Similarly, without collaboration and more collaboration amongst the critical stakeholders, those who are impacted as well as have an impact on matters concerning the Niger Delta and the South-South, without collaboration and further collaboration amongst them, we go nowhere.
So what development have the previous collaborations between these governors brought before now? Because they've been collaborating.
Well, I am not too sure I am qualified to assess the former governors, our leaders. But what I can say is this. There is a large measure of overlap between the Brace Commission and the NDDC. Ask me how. The Brace Commission was set up in 1999.
Okay.
About a year before the NDDC was established. The Brace Commission was set up by the 6 governors of the South-South states to basically engender cooperation and facilitate regional integration.
Yeah.
Okay? That was the spirit behind the creation of the Brace Commission before NDDC was established. But somehow, one way or the other, NDDC, appears to have been more active, if you like, concerning matters of development of the Niger Delta. Probably because it is better funded than the Brace Commission. So to that extent, one can refer to the Brace Commission as more or less of it has acted more like a pressure group.
Okay.
Not so much as a development engine.
All right, we have a break coming up. Hopefully after the break, we have more connected to this conversation. Please stay with us. Back, it still is Hard Facts 92.3 Nigeria Info. Sam Oracle Chinedu here, and we're talking about development of the Niger Delta region from the perspective of the Brace Commission. The River State Governor Sim Fubara sued for a change in the approach of governors of the Niger Delta towards holistic regional development. And he said this during the meeting of the governors of the South states under the auspices of the Brace Commission. You heard their voices earlier. And my guest is still here, Mr. Pius Ughakpoteni, who's a former director of corporate affairs with the NDDC and a development expert. You're welcome once again, sir.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Okay. So before the break, we were talking about the impact of previous collaborations between these governors. And you said Brace was established a year before the NDDC, speaking about how they may not have had the will because of funding and all of that. But considering the fact that they are individual governors of states, let's forget about working from the perspective of Brace. If they all did their jobs at a state level, we would not be further ahead in this development conversation.
Again, I will escape that trap of I will not be drawn into indicting my leaders. I'll take it from another angle, another perspective.
Okay.
We're talking about the overlap between Brace Commission and the NDDC.
NDDC, yeah.
And one aspect of the overlap is that's apart from the fact that 6 of the states that make up the NDDC mandate states are constitute the Brace Commission.
Yeah.
The NDDC Establishment Act provides for a governing council made up of, is it a governing council, advisory council, made up of governors of the 9 constituent states.
Okay.
So what that suggests is that the governors of the Brace states are statutory members of the NDDC Advisory Committee.
Okay.
The question to ask is whether the Advisory Committee has been active enough. I'm aware that there have been efforts under the present management of the present board and management to have the Advisory Committee revived. They have been partnering with them to ensure that the governors of the 9 mandate states of the NDDC have a greater input into the affairs of the commission. Now, if the Brace governors have been active in previous dispensations of the NDDC Advisory Committee, then I believe they would have been able to push to a greater extent for speedy development of the mandate states, the Brace mandate states. And it's very important to realize, know that development of the Brace states is in the interest of the NDDC. If the Brace states are made very attractive for the oil industry, for instance, which is a mainstay of the funding of the NDDC, many more oil companies will be attracted to establish here, and then the available funds for derivation will increase. So the Brace governors should take it as make it a point of duty to ensure that they make greater inputs into the affairs of the advisory committee of the NDDC. By so doing, they too will be making it easy for their states to experience the kind of development that is worthy of being called oil-bearing or oil-producing states.
Let me ask the question differently, Mr. Pius. Let's imagine, this is hypothetical, of course, that you and I are biological brothers, right? And then we say, let us join forces for the upliftment of the family. The fact that we're brothers mean that we have the same father, we have the same last name, and our children, who are cousins, right, should have a good relationship. And we say, okay, Pius and Sam, let's join forces for the purpose of our family name. And then you say, no, I don't want us to join forces. You know what? I will take care of my family and you take care of yours. And we do that to the best of our abilities. You send your kids to the best schools. You do a good job at developing your family. I also do an amazing job. And our individual families are excelling at the highest possible levels. Now, if we have individually developed the family unit, do we need to collaborate, considering the success that we have experienced individually?
Yes, we still need to collaborate.
What are we supposed to achieve by this collaboration?
Well, I'll answer this question by drawing on the wisdom of the Yoruba philosophers.
Okay.
My people, the Yoruba people, have a saying that abotu. What that says literally is that it is through togetherness that the ants, tiny as they are able to lift huge objects from place to place. The ants, tiny as they are. And of course, the Bible also alludes to the fact that the ants are very wise creatures. Where in Proverbs, the sluggard was asked to go and draw on wisdom from the ants. So the ants typify that spirit of collaboration. In as much as on their own, they are self-sufficient. But by collaborating, they do far greater things than each of them can do on their own. And this again brings us to SDG 17. On their own, the different states, different families are doing well. But by working together, they can do far more than the sum of their individual efforts. They will achieve far more than the sum of their individual efforts. So these are some of the reasons the governors of the Benue states, and by extension, the Niger Delta states, need to collaborate. And of course, it goes without saying that by collaboration, there will be economies of scale. You do a road from one border of your state to the other border. Assuming, and you do it very well, assuming you collaborate, two states, adjacent states, collaborate, say, look, let's do this road to link our two states.
Yeah.
There will be economies of scale if you work together. Okay? So these are some of the benefits our people, through our governors, stand to benefit with greater collaboration amongst the constituent entities.
Okay. You had your time at the NDDC, over 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to get that figure right. And I'm sure you understand the workings of it. I said that to say that this is a question you don't have to answer diplomatically, but directly. If there is underdevelopment in this region, if I am looking for where to point fingers and blame, as a resident in the southern region, or even as an indigene, whoever's listening, who should they blame first? Is it the state government or the NDDC?
We all share the blame. We all. When I say we all, I mean different categories, all the categories of stakeholders.
Do we share it to equal proportions?
Well, I used to be good in mathematics in secondary school, but I'm not too sure whether I can do an accurate mathematical estimation of the extent to which each of these stakeholders should be culpable. But there's no question about the fact that you, a resident of the Niger Delta, you are as guilty as I am, an ex-employee of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
My responsibility, Mr. Pius, is not as great as that of the state government.
May not be as great, sir.
Yeah.
As I admitted that I'm not in a position to appropriate mathematically, to what extent each of us are guilty. But we are all guilty, seriously speaking, sir.
How so?
Because the Niger Delta is an agglomeration of different interest groups. We have the leaders at different cadres, federal, state, local government. We also have the leaders at community level, the village leaders, the community leaders, the traditional rulers, the youth leaders, the women leaders, and all of that. Some of these people, one way or the other, make things difficult for the entities that should drive development. Because when you bombard an agency like the NDDC with a multiplicity of requests, some of which, truly speaking, are not in tandem with the priorities of a generality of the people, then in all honesty, very little can be done by those at the helm of affairs. So most times the hands of the leaders of these operating entities, Bruce Commission, NDDC, and all that, are tied, because the multiplicity of requests from left, right, and center is such that the attention is so divided and their focus is less than optimal.
Yeah, but Mr. Pius, while I understand the problem that you have expressed, what I see is that it has made corruption easy to execute. Because if I'm going to give the multiplicity, as you say, as the excuse for why I may not function optimally, I can also use that as the reason why I can pocket the money that is meant for the development. Let's approach it from project and not development. Sometimes you hear people say, this road, right? So let's bring it down to project. This road should be done by the NDDC. If I am on a bad road in any part of the Niger Delta, how do I know which road is for NDDC to do and which one is for state government? Let's now bring it down to projects. How can I tell?
How can you, as a citizen of Niger Delta?
Yes.
Well, it's difficult to tell in the real sense of it. But the thing is this, and that is where collaboration comes in again. If I look forward to a greater degree of collaboration amongst these stakeholder groups, when that happens, then it should be easier for the people to say, look, this project is a joint project of the NDDC and the states, or it's a sole project of the NDDC, or it's a project of the NDDC driven by the NDDC with the support of the constituent states. Okay? I look forward to such level of collaboration that will facilitate, the ease of communication with respect to ownership of projects or programs.
So, Mr. Pius, naturally, you see the lacuna that creates, because what it also means is that the people will have no idea who to hold accountable.
Well, yeah, even if the people do not hold themselves accountable or do not know who to hold accountable, those who run these agencies, in all honesty, from time to time, I can assure you, do some form of self-assessment. And they do realize that there are areas they could have done better. And as somebody who has worked in the NDDC, I can assure you that the NDDC does a self-evaluation from time to time. They are aware of their shortcomings. They know where their hands are tied. They know where they could do better. And they are making every effort to ensure that they overcome these shortcomings and meet the expectations of the people to a higher degree. I'll give you an example of how well they've been working in this respect.
Yeah.
If I don't know how much you walk at night or move around Port Harcourt at night, or some of these other cities in even villages in the Niger Delta.
The street lights.
You would have noticed a great measure of difference.
I know that's what you want to say, the street lights.
So that has enlivened the economy of many communities across the Niger Delta. And there's no question about the fact that that's one way through which the NDDC has touched lives of recent. In as much as there's so much more that can be done.
Yeah, there is so much more. I mean, it's
working
something,
in collaboration with the governors.
It's something I can't refuse to, admit it's something. But Considering that it is a 25-year commission, naturally more would
20.
be demanded.
20.
2000.
Oh, well, okay, 25.
2000.
Correct.
So
yeah,
this is
yeah.
So naturally, you would have people expecting more. But we are having this conversation about development. It started because our governor said that collaboration is important. The Brace Commission, the NDDC, and the general development of the Niger Delta. My guest is Mr. Pius, a former director of corporate affairs, NDDC, a development expert. He's an author, and there's a lot of things, but basically he understands the business of development. I'd like to hear from you now. Questions begging answers. What has the impact of past regional collaborations among South-South governors been? Have you felt the impact? Speaking about development as regards the NDDC, have you also felt the impact of that connected to the development of this region? 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. WhatsApp is 080-903-06416. We're live on Facebook and Twitter at Nigeria InfoPH on all platforms. You can watch, listen, and drop your comments on those platforms. Lebari calls from Bori. Hello, Lebari. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Sam.
Good evening.
And I extend my distinguished greeting to your elder guest, Mr. Pius.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pius.
Yes, he can hear you.
Good evening, Lebari.
Yeah. Well, I have to thank my executive governor of Rivers State who brought this idea of development in the South. But the problem I'm having is that our politicians, they mix politics with development. And that is actually what is affecting the development in Niger Delta. Even the federal government, they do not even learn from incidents, because I overheard the executive governor of Bayelsa State that the clean-up is happening in Ogoni should also be replicated in other states in Niger Delta. Now, my number one question, will the federal government wait to be told to clean up the whole of Niger Delta to ensure that what happened in Ogoni should not happen to them? They don't care. It's just like what my executive governor said. Will they wait for protests? Look at the East-West Road. Mr. Pius, you were a director in NDDC. What is happening in NDDC? If you take the present one now, this street light, the solar light that is being distributed by NDDC, ask me, community in Niger Delta that do not have any politician, do they benefit from that street light? The answer is no. My community, Sogo, in Canada local government, that we are having one of the oil in my community is a typical example. Did we have this street light benefited from NDDC? Answer no. Maybe we don't have top politicians. And that's what is affecting us.
All right, Barry.
Money is being spent.
Thank you very much. We have others waiting, but I've noted the question and my guest will answer that shortly. Promise from Gokana. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I appreciate your guest in the studio. He has also spoke extensively. But one thing I want to add to the discussion is this. Like the question you asked, if we are to blame those who are responsible for the development of Nigeria, which should be blame first? I think it's a very straightforward question. We need to go first our government responsible.
Okay.
You say the NDDC is an intervention agency. Meanwhile, the state has the resources for development. So the NDDC was able to complement those areas where the state cannot handle or where the state has not been able to handle. Now, you look at the huge resources that is coming to our respective states in the Niger Delta, and vis-a-vis the development that is happening in the state, you will agree with me that our donors are not helping us at all. They say something different and they do something different. some of them, if you compare their personal resources to the development that they have done in the state, you will be very angry with them. This is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about one particular person. I'm talking about successive government and even the current government.
Okay.
Now look at the resources that come to Rivers. According to the statistics, according to the data available to us, Rivers State generates about 27 billion per month in internal revenue. And some months they receive about 30-something or something billion per month. If you add that together, you're sure of having close to 70 billion or 55 billion in a month. Now, what is the extent of development in the state every month? Let's make our findings. What is the wage of workforce in River State as we speak today? If you make that finding, you will discover that our workforce, the wage bill is not up to 15 billion.
All right.
You can make findings.
Well, thank you, Promise. I'm very close to the end of the show, but an important question was posed earlier, Mr. Pius. The second caller who we just listened to was putting the priority of responsibility at the doorstep of the state government. But the one before him talked about NDDC projects going to communities where there are NDDC officials. So that means, according to him, if in my community there's nobody that works with the NDDC, developments would not be attracted to that region. And he used the street lights as a case study. Your response?
No, there's a certain mix-up here.
Okay.
The Labour didn't say NDDC cites projects in communities where there are NDDC staff. He said specifically that where there are no politicians to speak for certain communities, those communities do not benefit, allegedly, from NDDC projects.
So he mentioned his community,
yes,
by the way.
Indeed, by way of streetlights and all that.
Yeah, and he said there's nothing there.
Yeah. Well, I sympathize with him in that respect, and he's lucky to have a very eminent citizen as a representative of his state on the NDDC board, in the person of Chief Okocha. He represents the River State on the board of the NDDC, and I believe he's eminently qualified to ensure, see to it that any such communities that deserve, or well, that have a need for such, will get them with time.
Okay.
Now, the second contributor made some allusion to the fact that the governors receive, the states, through the governors, receive far more, so much more, so much by way of resources.
Well, just 30 seconds, by the way, so you have to, before the break.
Yes, so now that brings us to the point some of us have emphasized in the past. NDDC struggles with the challenge of funding.
Okay, so let's take that break, and when we return, we'll properly sign out. Please stay with us.
Okay.